All right, perfect. Now everything is ready. So, hello guys, how's everything? Mm, Doing good. Um, introduce themselves. Not, I'll kindly mute them to not take that to wrong consideration. Either way, so yeah, basically gonna do a quick recap on that. So yeah, no, thanks for that. No hard feelings on that. Actually, thank you for doing that. It's fun. Fun is always good. Either way, so wanted to what are the expectations of this summer? We're gonna distribute it later in our newsletter. We've been holding it so you guys can really see. So basically, we launched our DApp on mid-February, and so far, let's say 4 weeks, we have signed 17 clients. So that's also what is important. We're gonna discuss the token later, but I wanted to update you as to how the company is doing. So that's magnificent, guys. We went from 0 clients or one, maybe two testing environment to having a DApp, and now we are flooded with work and clients. Our pipeline, as we measured this morning, we had 190 leads, so that's huge. Literally, maybe by far, we became. mm, I want to go and say it. Uh, the most successful tokenization platform of 2023 with just these three with those 17 clients being tokenized in the span of 4 weeks. We literally just crushed our competitors, so that's put us in a great perspective. What does that mean? That obviously we're a platform now with a monetization validated product, client base, and that has really allowed us to pursue greater partnerships, because obviously when you go to a big company, they expect you to not just be an early startup who has an idea, but also has an MVP in play. So I'm going to play a game with you guys. Um, just because this is a good AMA, the whole team is excited of what we're accomplishing. And basically, I did shield, or we did shield. We don't like to use the word, but okay. Uh, we created expectation as to why do we wanted to create an AMA with the partnership announcement. All right. So I wanted to actually come with two announcements, but one, we still haven't received the final answer because we've been applying to different programs from different uh, Web 2, Web 3 partnerships, especially some that we really need. So the Web 2, we applied to a Big Four. I don't know when they're going to give the answer. We think we're going to enter so we can create a legal product for the infrastructure. That would be a huge win. We're talking about one of the biggest consultancy firms out there. So maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But what we can announce is we are going to start announcing an official partnership in the coming maybe 2, 3 weeks with one of the coolest cryptocurrency projects out there, which is actually one of my favorites. So the funny story here is obviously when I was 2016, you enter like everyone, just knowing the technology, but also buying some crypto just to get a feel. Obviously, the first coin that I bought was BTC at that time. The second one is actually this one. So, and it actually is the first one of here in Brickken. So, drop whoever gets it right, the first one, I'll give them 100 BKM from my wallet. Who who do you think we just partnered up with? All right, boom, Mase. Then that was fast. Oh, Jaska, they just went touch. I'm just gonna give you 100 BKM because I don't even know how to partner up with Dogecoin. Should I like knock on Elon Musk door and say like, hey, Helen, we want to partner up with Dogecoin. How do we do that? So yes, Mase, I'll contact you and then I'm gonna give you some I promise from my wallet. So, guys, what is happening here? This is massive. So how does the partnership works? We're still, let's say, negotiating the front as to how the partnership is gonna look. But in 2023, Chainlink started issuing tweets around the real world assets, right? So based on that, we saw that there was an interest because they want to provide a whole infrastructure on oracles for real world assets. So that means they really want to create the connection between offline asset and online assets. So we started figuring out how would that look. So we got a couple of introductions through people that we know. I also actually from educative. You know that Brickken created a master of blockchain and crypto for a school here in Spain who got backed by Binance. Actually, three professors came from Chainlink environment. So we had a lot of like connections, but they didn't know that we all knew each other. So when we went up and and talked with them, we were like, so we have this. What do you suggest? And I'm gonna paraphrase the words because for us this is transcendental. And they said like the whole what is it? 2023 for Chainlink is tokenization. So that means like obviously maybe last year they were talking about valuations between okay, so the whole NFT and metaverse creating an oracles between parities of whatever crypto they were doing. But now like the real challenge that we're in, it's kind of like how are we gonna validate um, assets that are in the real world into the on-chain. So here in Brickken, we're specialized in tokenization, yes, and the digital asset world. Uh, and we were testing even ourselves, how can we create like proof of reserve even, or use a proof of reserve concept just to be more transparent with whoever is trying to issue their own or mint their own digital assets and bring their own chain, how we can create value for them. All right. So we talk with them. They have a project that they want to foresee how we're going to partner up. But as of now, yeah, in a couple of weeks, we're probably going to do a bigger announcement. But you guys are the community, so I thought it was more valid to come here first instead of me blasting in the social media, just because we're excited. And we're not only excited just because personally, I'm a big fan of Sergey. I think that guy just wearing the blade shirt every day. It's it's quite funny. But either way, I read the white paper a couple of years ago, actually 2017 and a half, like 6 months after they went out. I was working for some signature company called Signaturit. Doesn't really matter. But the thing is, we were trying to develop something around real world contracts and trying to embed them on chain. So I was looking as to how that worked. I had no idea. It was called an oracle, by the way. Like I had no idea. So I was Googling and I stumbled into Chainlink. And that was kind of like, I think that was my third or fourth white paper that I read, how Chainlink work with the oracles, and I was like impressed because I was like, well, okay, so this is kind of like solves me a problem that I want to do because at that time it was nothing to do with that. Well, it kind of did work with tokenization, but we were trying to tokenize kind of like contracts and embed them. Funny thing is, in that company, I even one of the co-founders here in Brickken, Dario, he was the blockchain guy in the same company. That's how we met. So I'm just telling you a story because whatever you got to put context as to why we think we're so excited. So from 2017, personally, till now, just been following the journey of Chainlink. Yeah, they even hit 10th, 10 coin market cap on what was it, 2021. I think they hit like all time high, 45 or something. But the importance lies that them are the biggest providers of oracles, and they are always trying to provide transparency to many projects as to how the different parities can work. And then that for us is crucial because we do have a big problem. Not a big problem, sorry. We have a situation that we need to provide a solution for, and is when you're embedding all these different assets on chain, you need to have the real world assets steals value at the same as the on chain. So when you have two cryptocurrencies, it's super easy because they're both digital assets per se. They were created on chain, so the parity itself. Um, the difficulty lies when you're going from different chains and whatnot, and you have to really put that into order. But if the digital asset is born in the same chain, it's and I'm not gonna say simple because I'm not a tech, I'm not a coder, so I wouldn't know how to do it. But I would say like the complexity is not there. Now with the real world assets, it's very, very difficult. So what we're gonna create, hopefully in the next 1 to 2 months, is one of the clients that we sign. We're gonna shoot a proof of concept. We're gonna do it for free for them, which is we're going to create an oracle between their asset and the digital asset, and we're going to test how that works. If this works, I'm not going to tell you, but I think you can figure it out what it means that we just literally tokenize an asset using the oracles of proof of reserve that Chainlink is developing for real world assets. And as of now, those oracles are still in theoretical base because as they're pushing this new technology as to how they can really push the real world assets, it's not being used because there's not a lot of tokenizing companies. And not only there are not a lot of tokenizing companies, we are probably one in three, max five companies maybe that are pure decentralized. That means that our whole infrastructure truly runs on blockchain. So there's a lot of variables as to why we're going to test this together. And hopefully in 1, 2 months, we have a live uh, use case with that. So that is the big announcement. So let's recapitulate for everybody who's just jumping in case somebody just goes on fast forward on when the AMA gets dropped. We launched our DApp second week of February. For us, it was an absolute success to be able to say now that we have 11 signed contracts and 6 in negotiation. So hopefully our in-house lawyer stops becoming so much of a lawyer. That's a joke. Uh, they're doing a great work. So those 6 contracts, I'm hoping that before months end, we have them signed, so we can say we have 17 signed contracts with clients who want to tokenize. And I'm talking here like everything. I don't like you literally we already say like tokenization of everything and everything can be tokenized. So now not only is it theoretical, no, it's actually practical because we're going from real estate applications, agriculture. We have a fragrance coming up. The fragrance, keep it up. That's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. Why? Because the fragrance comes from a really successful, famous person who's tokenizing his own fragrance. So that's going to be a big one. Not that the rest are not, but let's say that's going to be flashy just because of who's backing that project. Then we have, let's say, we have some debts, we have some bonds. So we're going all over the place. So as a company, let's say from a sales and marketing strategy, we're gonna keep pursuing. We have a healthy pipeline of tokenizations coming up. We're gonna try now to hit institutionals. We already have entrances. I already told you that we might enter into a program for designing a solution for institutionals slash banking slash funds slash VCs, specifically for them for tokenization. I was hoping that today we already had the answer, or for me to say like we got in or we don't. I don't know. So that's huge for us also because we're not only in the crypto space, we are in the real world space. So that's super important for us. So hopefully we do get in. If we're not, we'll figure it out with another partner because we want to start hitting institutionals. We're gonna start hitting funds. We're gonna start hitting VCs. We're gonna start hitting the big players. Not because we don't like the small players. I'm a small player, so I want to help others like us. But it is important that the big player and the big institutional can echo in the ecosystem, and that can pull us in a very good spot. Now, regarding again the crypto, yes, we collaborating with Chainlink. We're going to be announcing something coming up in officially matters. So that means through our socials, you know how we do in 1, 2 weeks. I just wanted to push this through our community because it's better that we say it first to you guys than later when it comes publicly. So take a look at that. The idea is to use their oracles not only for our parities of crypto, because if you guys don't know, here's a quick recap of how our application works. The issuer creates his own token or its own security token using our technology, and in no code, he creates and mints a digital asset, and then that digital asset can be sold to all investors through a public page or whatever. The issuer accepts right now two kind, either USDC or USDT. When other people want to play with other cryptos, there's possibly what is called a transformation or transforming the ETH to that crypto or whatever. So we're going to use oracles in that. But the real importance lies in us now testing how real world assets are going to be link to the issuer using our technology for creating his own token, or in reality, for creating his own hair digital asset. So if this success story happens, and in 1-2 months were able to bring a client for this proof of concept, and the proof of concept is it works, yeah, that will boom. Why? Because we will blast it off in all media and all newspapers, in all blogs, in everything. Because now we're talking about certainty and trust and validation. And obviously, this is something that in the tokenization field we need. So, as always, we're trying to be not the first. Being the first is not always good. We're just trying to do solid steps, taking into consideration how the market is, what do we need, how do we penetrate that part, and that's what we're doing now. So yes. Now, is it gonna happen? Yes, Chainlink, yes. The other one we don't know. And in the back, just a quick perspective or a general overview. We have been able to now penetrate more in the interest of VCs, of DAOs, or even some grants we've been applying. Now we're getting all the feedback. And the main reason was in 2021, maybe a lot of companies in the Web3 were just getting funded with just a PDF or a PowerPoint or an idea, or with a complicated language that was supposed to be a DeFi pool farming, that whatever, and everybody wanted to jump in because it was all test. Then the big crash of 2022 happened. We were lucky. We landed some deals. We want to grow fast, and we want to grow solid, and we want to grow with the best, hopefully. So we work for that. Now this year, everybody was like, yeah, don't knock on my door if you don't have a validated project, if you don't have what is called key performance indicators, KPIs. That means paying clients that you're monetizing, and you're doing that. And basically, this month actually opened the door a lot. Now we don't even have to go look for that. It's amazing because a lot of PCs are starting to knock on our door and say like, hey guys, what you guys building here? Super interesting. And not only that, if we do a quick refresh of the last 3 months of what is happening in the tokenization space, like I will just have to say three major events. So one of the biggest financial institutions in the world, Morgan Stanley, created his own blockchain for tokenization. Yes, a private blockchain. Yes, it's nothing like us. It really doesn't matter. The message is financial institutions are trying to establish how tokenization is gonna change the whole financial markets. They're getting ready for that. They know this is happening, and it's not because of blockchain, it's because the whole optimization factor that happens when an asset gets transformed into its digital form. It becomes lean, and it becomes transferable, and it becomes without weight. So there's a lot of characteristics that makes the digital asset be super functional for these financial institutions, because in the end, it saves costs. And if I'm a financial institution that I make money out of management fees, if I start cutting off costs for management, then that means I start generating more revenue. So it's not about blockchain, it's about optimization. Then, secondly, a bank in Switzerland got tokenized. How crazy is that? We're talking about like a financial institution, not just tested. It was like, I'm going to tokenize my equity because I think for me, it's better. So that's the second event. And then the third event is just put tokenization in Google and go on news. Day by day, there's some events. Everybody's writing about tokenization. Everybody's jumping at digital assets. Because for once, I'm a big fan of blockchain and NFTs and metaverse and all of that. I myself have some NFTs. I myself have played in some metaverse. I don't believe in metaverse, by the way. I'm going to be super there. Don't hate me. But I just think right now it's not the case. The thing is, all of that was very theoretical and it was very much FOMO. Now NFTs are changing. They're putting themselves more as utility based, access based, and all of that. So there's a lot of functionalities in NFTs that was not there with the PFP, right? With the profile pictures. Now, what happens is when the market crashes, they're like, okay, so now the bubble that was created because it was a huge bubble exploded, and now we're here and we have to digest this. What are the real options do we have now? And guys, the only real option that will never ever die are the markets, are the financial markets, the financial instruments, the securities. Like I can go here for hours about talking about securities. What was the first security? How did it change? How did it blend it? How did the company was created? What was the first registered company? All of that. And I can tell you that these securities have been in this world for thousands of years. Actually, the first thing that got written by man was actually in a rock establishing a debt contract. That debt was the first security ever written. So we're talking about securities have been all around the world and have been for thousands of years. Are they going to disappear? No. So the next evolution of everything, without a single doubt, will be how the markets are going to pivot from what they're doing into its tokenized form just because it is cheaper than the actual alternative that we have now, from handwritten signatures contracts to word instruments written contracts to DocuSign contracts being sent to brokers being the middleman for you to shoot an initial public offering, from having to have a custodian to manage your digital, well, your asset before you go into initial public offering. All of those things can be transformed in a click. And that's what we created in Brickken. We didn't thought about all of those. We tried and we actually succeeded in creating a platform that generates a financial market in less than 3 minutes. What does that mean? We just save costs for a lot of companies. So that is why we're doing good in the market. We're getting exposure, we're getting partnerships, and we're growing. So without further ado, I wanted to transmit all of that. And if anybody has questions, now it's time. Thank you very much. All right. So since I can talk here about securities and I love securities, here's another fun fact. Stock market last year, June 2022, established, okay, 2 years ago, stock market is an aggregator of securities. So an aggregator is like CoinMarketCap, which aggregates all tokens, or even that's an aggregator, right? There's various kinds, not just financial. Even when you look for a house and you go to a housing portal for renting, that's an aggregator of various sites. All right, that's an aggregator. Stock market is an aggregator of securities. 2 years ago, it established that the whole market of securities was 1 billion, right? That same year, the crypto market was 3 trillion. So that was the all time high, right? So we're saying that the security market in the whole world, security token offering market, because Nasdaq is a security and they're not 3 trillion. I don't even know. I think there was like, I don't know. I'm not going to say, I don't know. I don't know that. I'm going to look for that so I can say it next. Either way. So to recap, 2021 stock market value, the security token offering based on data, on on-chain data. That means obviously because on blockchain you can analyze anything. Super simple. Chain analysis or whoever you want to use, Nansen, super big. They can give you all the information. Either way, 1 billion. Utility tokens, cryptocurrencies as we know them, 3 trillion. 2022, the crash. We go under 1 trillion cryptocurrencies because 2 trillion got wiped. And then we go and establish that June 2022 security token offerings multiplied by 20. So that means that the market that was 1 billion went into 20 billion, while the utility token cryptocurrency market went from 3 trillion to under 1 trillion. Now, we don't know what's going to happen in June 2023. There's the data is there. You can all go stockmarket.com. I'm gonna put that stock market needs to pay me for me shilling their website now. So wait, that's a joke. Now, If we go to the different reports that have been built or been drafted by huge auditing firms like Ernst& Young, Deloitte, McKinsey, Morgan Stanley, we go into, I read about their BlackRock, CEO, investors, later to all the investors of BlackRock, mentioning digital assets, and then saying that they're going to test tokenization. If we read all of these reports, the average thing that they're saying, I want to say, because it depends, it fluctuates. Whoever's writes it, they have different data, or in this case, forecasts. They have established that the security token offerings, that means the digital assets that are going to be created by 2030, is 16 trillion. So that means us, that in right now, let's put it because whatever, 50 billion. If today, 2023, there's a market of 20 billion, and in 7 years, that market of 50 billion is going to be worth 16 trillion, you do the math. I'm not very good at math. I'm not going to make it here in public like that. So that's the growth of all digital assets market. So what is happening? That information got thrown into the market. Competitors started to arise. Here in Spain this year, I've already witnessed the born of 6 startups that are trying to do something similar to Brick. 6 startups. Why? Because suddenly you have a market that just got branded as 16 trillion. And you know there's a chunk for a little or a little for anybody. So while us in the space, we've been learning know-how, team, technology, clients, brand, even a token. Why not? It's part of our ecosystem. All of you, community, investors, database, KYC. If we keep the trend going, it could be that if we succeed at what we're doing now and we continue the journey of growth that we're developing, I'll let you do that forecast. That's how excited we're here in Brickken. Because for once, 2 years and a half ago, we were not the first tokenizers. In 2017, there were companies that were born for the tokenization, but I may say they were too early. Or maybe the approach was not there. We decided to enter 2020 with a different approach, a different turn, and even we pivoted maybe like 3 times before we enter into that phase. So even us at the beginning, not gonna say we were lost, but let's say we took the wrong path as to how tokenization happened. So it took us 2 years and a half to be where we are with the know-how and the solidity, and the solid thing that we can sit down in front of absolutely anybody and sell them the idea that security token offerings are the future. And actually, it's the present that is being built, and it's not me telling you. It's Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, telling the whole investor database that tokenization is happening. It's Morgan Stanley building up the private blockchain for financial instruments. It's Securitize, which is a competitor, centralized a competitor, tokenizing a hedge fund of 80 million or 800. I don't know, still 80 or 800, I don't care. So that's the reality. So why are we doing this? Well, basically because we love securities, we love the complexity. Yeah, we went super complex. I don't know why this market, because I don't know, we like that. Maybe we're suicidal in that sense because it's been a very hard market, especially when you talk and then people say like, that sounds like sci-fi. But 2023 happened. And then the sci-fi was like, maybe these guys were not so off of what could happen. And maybe that us being that we were not off allow us to really generate 17 clients in a month. And our pipeline is just ridiculous. So that's what I wanted to transmit to you. I haven't spoken to you in a while. We've been really working behind the scenes, and we've been actually, just building. And we're never gonna get tired of it. I do believe we have to be more doing more AMA because we haven't updated you in so many things that happen behind the scenes, and it's important. I'm gonna ask and request my one of my teammates to do a demo of our product next week. We have a huge, not a, we have a very interesting format that we're gonna provide to you. We want to create a live tokenization of a specific asset. We want you to all be engaged because in the end, not only are you investing in Brickken, I do not want any of you to understand or just understand that this is the gateway to a whole new market. That everything, all the financial instruments are gonna change, guys. Like you can call me crazy, or maybe in 10 years you can be like, "Oh, I was in that AMA when Edwin, that crazy guy, started talking about securities, and I don't even know what's a security. But a security is an equity, debt, or profit sharing. It's a contract. It's a financial instrument. That's a security. The whole world runs on securities. When you go to the store of the corner, that's a company. That's a limited liability company, or that's a whatever. It's a form of a contract. It's a form of a company. The whole world runs on securities. When you go to the bank, you sign a contract and you give them money and you are in debt. Actually, when you lend your money to the bank, it's called an IOU. So the bank acquires your money because you actually lend them the money, which is funny. You lend them the money first and then you request a loan from them. Loan, lend, debt, bond, security. So what I'm saying is the whole world is gonna change. And it's because everything runs on securities. That's the reality. And if you bring all of that mass, which they say is 16 trillion, but the total is not 16 trillion, they're not saying that the max is going to be 16 trillion. They're saying that the market itself for security tokens offering is going to be 16 trillion. What is the max? What is the cap? How many securities can be embedded? Now, that's something that I want to witness. Hopefully, I managed to make it to that age because I am a strong believer, not just because I'm in Brickken or anything, but because I love optimization, I love digitization, and I do believe that in the future, companies, which is kind of like how the DAOs are doing, they're slowly paving the way. Companies are going to be built natively on chain. Luxembourg already tested it and it worked. Luxembourg is tiny. They don't have that much. They have a lot of financial instruments. They're huge. I mean, there's a lot of, it's not offshore. I forgot the word. Sorry. Either way, everything will be on chain. And it's not because I believe in blockchain. Like, I'm not one of those guys, crypto boys, say, like, oh, blockchain. I love blockchain, the technology, crucial, but securities, digitized, and having a vehicle that can work 24/7, can be accessible by anyone, by everyone, in any point in the world. Now, that's magical. And that's the beauty of why we created Brickken, because we believe that future, it's certain, and we want to be there first, and we want to put our stamp in the world and say, yes, we participated into making that happen. So that's all. Sorry about the rant. I don't know. Just wanted to be transparent with you. And please, if you have any questions, you can drop in the chat. Happy to answer you, or somebody can help me because I'm not reading the chat.
Hi, Edwin.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your AMAs. I always find them very informative, and I really think Bricken is on the brink of the world or taking over the world. So I'm really, really, really bullish on it. I just had a quick question. In layman's terms, can you say that Chainlink is sort of like the link between us and tokenizing the banks?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, I just want to ask in layman's terms, for example, is Chainlink, our partnership with Chainlink, for example, is Chainlink the link between us, as in Bricken, and tokenizing the banks?
Okay. Uh, I don't believe they hold the key. Uh, okay. Let me see how I want to answer this in a second, because I don't want none of us hold the key as to how tokenization is going to work. So since none of us work, we all have expertise. So for example, our expertise lies in creating digital assets, selling them, and managing them. So we create that infrastructure for the digital asset to comply with the token lifecycle. What we have created is to understand that the digital asset, this comes from before. Assets have a life cycle, all right? We established that the asset has three specific stages, which is when you create the asset itself, the assets are actually created through contracts. Super important for this to understand that all assets are first created and they denominate themselves as assets because there's a contract. Even when you go to Nike to buy a pair of shoes, those pair of shoes do not exist for you until you buy that asset. That means that until you pay and that payment goes, it's a contract that you just fulfill with the merchant. All right. So in reality, assets are created from that contract. Then you have the selling point. So here in the shoe, you go to the merchant and the merchant puts it for you. That's the distribution channel or Amazon or whatever. So that's the second layer. So Nike created those shoes, then puts them in the merchant, which is the distribution and selling, and then not in the shoes, but in the rest of the assets, you have the management because you created management. If a company has equity, the shareholders manage that equity, or if the company is the owner of equity, manages it. But they also manage treasuries, they also manage accounting books, they also manage all of that infrastructure of assets. Why I'm telling you this is what we created here in Brickken is for us to be able to offer companies in this digital world the creation of that asset, the distribution selling point of that asset, and then the management. Now, while we're good in embedding all of this digital layer, we need to understand that our pain and many pains that are out there is how can you connect that digital asset with the real world asset? So that means the parity, because what you want to create is called a digital twin. That means if the real world asset exists and modifies, such modification, alteration, of whatever you want to go, it's at the same because you want them to be paired. If one moves, the other moves. Because if not, you could have sort of an arbitrage, which is what the oracles try to stop. You don't want one to be above the other one because then somebody can take advantage of that position and say, like, oh, the real world asset is worth less than its digital. I go acquire the real world asset. And then as soon as I sell it with an uptick, I bombard the digital asset and then it breaks. That's something that we're still trying to figure out because everything that we do in these markets are based on trust. And trust is not an oracle. Trust is just I buy this digital asset and I'm expecting that the real world asset is at its pair. Can it break? Of course. There's many mechanisms, but it's not so easy because real world assets is not like somebody from Mexico is gonna go to the Spanish building and take a brick out of it and break it. So it's a weird example what I created. So sorry for giving you all this context behind the question, but it was important for me to establish that what we know we're good is into creating that digital channel for the creation and management of it. What Chainlink is good is into creating an oracle that can leverage the both assets for them to always be on pair. How does that work is something that we're going to start testing. So in the future, when everything becomes more digitized, there's more opportunities for arbitrage because there's opportunities for people to make money. So that's something that we, us as infrastructure, need to start uh, coming into since the beginning because we want to stop that because right now it works because it's at the trust level. So when you have a market that is based on trust, it's a market that can be broken very easily. So us that we're starting into the tokenization phase, it's important that we don't rely on the trust that I'm buying a digital asset from you or from the issuer or all of this management is happening. It's important what is happening even on the exchanges and what is happening right now with the whole banks crashing. So it's kind of like it needs to be sort of audited, and the audit or proof of reserve comes from a constant reviewer as to how that exists. So banks might require this kind of technology, but they're not worried right now as to the real world assets because they need to be in compliance. For example, us, we're going to start making offers to institutional, but it's not because of Chainlink with them. We're going to do it through a custodian because they want to create that compliance level that they don't believe that the blockchain itself can be its own custody, because in compliance levels, when they're dealing with securities, they don't rely they don't rely on themselves. They hire an expert firm who's the custodian who manages all the assets, and they're used to that. So when you break that process, they get lost. So they want to create that custodian into the digital world because from a compliance level, when they start doing a risk analysis, they don't want to have a risk that says, oh, it's a self custody and it's self breakable, and who's responsible, and what happens if somebody enters and the wallet gets lost or the keys get lost. They have so many complications as to how they've been executing for the past hundreds of years that what they want to do is create a digital custodian. So the pain with the banks for us using an Oracle provider is not a necessity, it's an add-on. But in these cases, everything that adds and provides more trust then becomes better. But the custodian, it's for us a need for me to go to the bank and say, you want to go into the digital asset world, I'll provide you the infrastructure, but I'm not a custodian. Here it's another custodian who we're actually talking with various players now to be able to offer that. So Chainlink, if it's not for such institutional like the bank, who is it for? It does work for funds. It does work for VCs. It does work for promoters. It does work for other players who want to establish that their offering is clean. And if something happens with the real world asset, then it can modify the digital asset. But it is not because they only want to like provide more of a service, but it's also because they have to manage a real world asset and a digital asset, and that can get complex if you don't have the know-how in the future, because you have two assets that are living at the same time in the exact moment of time in the exact same place, one in Peru, so to speak, one in the whole blockchain. So for them to not have to break their heads as to how the whole accounting is going to work, what is the valuation, if one moves the rest, then for them it also facilitates their work.
Thank you, Edwin. That was very informative and elaborate. I get it. Thank you.
Yes. See, thank you. All right. Any other questions? Okay, just Canware. Yeah, thank you for before whispering. That was funny. So, no, it's not yet public. Not breaking anything. It's once we start shooting the corresponding news links, we are definitely gonna use this for our advantage. But in reality, it's not more that busy an institution. Yeah, the crypto ones, they might definitely gather interest behind it. But for Web two, Chainlink is just another provider that they don't even know because they don't even understand oracles. So for the crypto players, yes, this is good, and this puts us more into the perspective that we're not just we just not were born yesterday and creating something. So we definitely the strategy behind Brickken is not just to target uh, Web two, no, not to target Web three interest. It's also to Web two. So that's why we're also trying to close partnerships with big brands in Web two. All right. So did I answer you? And if you say yes, we'll go to the next one. Staking. All right, I'll gather that question. Um, this is this is a complex one, all right? Because the reality is, being transparent with you guys, we wanted to reopen the staking window. We started receiving emails and some private messages as to if they can stake again, and we're going to open a window. We open it for a month. Um, the reality of why we open it for a month is for, for you to maintain a service, it's you need resources. For us here, our most valuable resource is obviously our tech team. So we have a lot in the pipeline. So we wanted to establish that 1 month we prepare, we execute with success, we close because the smart contract is already there, the staking pool is already there. So we don't have to do absolutely anything else until January 2024, which is the first January 2024, which is the first opening. We just have to make sure a couple of weeks before that it works. So that was the mentality behind as to why we open it for 1 month. It's a matter of resources. So when you have limited resources, you have to adapt to what you have and establish what is the best outcome. We opened staking. We did something in December that created a negative wave inside the company because we had us staking, and based on the community feedback, we had to redo the staking because we understood where you guys were coming from. So we decided to redo absolutely everything, not everything, but maybe like 70% had to be redone. It was different APY, different functioning. We only have like one staking mechanism. So when December at the beginning happened, we redid everything. And it's also learning experience for us because now we had data on January as to what it takes for us to maintain this thing running, and there's no problems. There's no people losing their tokens. There's no staking problems or anything. So I'm giving you all the explanation as to why we only gave 1 month, because us as a company, we foresaw that it was in the best interest for everyone, because us working on that product is always better than just focusing on the token. So we made an executive decision, all of us, that we only open it for 1 month to then allocate those resources that helps us in the staking in the app or even the payment app where we people are buying from the public. So what happened? Not everybody jumped in the month. I understand. So our idea was that we were going to open it for another week. So all the people that were not jumping in, but other people in that community started saying that, yeah, but if other people jump in, me, that I enter when the right time was come, because actually we shoot on every newsletter on the social media that the staking window was for a month. So what happens? For me, personally, when I was thinking, it was a matter of we should allow every community member who has trust us to be able to stake. Then from people who stake, they were saying, yeah, but when you let them in, the APY of each pool is going to reduce. And while I comply with your terms, now uh, I get a problem back because my APY is going to get reduced. So based on that, I am not in a position right now to make an elaborate decision because it conflicts with two of our community. The same community gets affected. Since I cannot make an assumption as to what is the correct decision, we're going to analyze for the coming weeks if we're going to open a new window. If we open such window, it will be for 1 day or maybe like 6 hours. And it's like, this is it. We don't know yet. So I am still trying to figure out what is the best outcome because I understand people who has invested in us and are still waiting. I understand that we were supposed to list. Thank God we didn't list it, and now the market is getting better. So maybe we were right, guys. I'm not saying anything, but I am saying it out loud. Maybe we were right on not doing it last year based on how the market is doing now. But that goes without saying. People invested, so I do not know now what is the right decision, and we're still gonna talk internally, us managers, as to if we open the stake for how long, or we don't, and we tell the people who wanted to stake who got left out that they can. So it's not an easy decision. but I'm just being transparent with you guys because this is how decisions are taken here. We don't have the data enough right now to see. It also depends how many people come up to us. If it's 100, then yeah, the API will get crushed. But if it's maybe 10 people and we open it for an hour, 10 people might not be complex. Or maybe we force those 10 people to only go to the third pool because they missed the chance during the first times. There's very variables. So for now, we're going to focus on, since the listing comes on June, the decision of the staking window, if we decide to reopen it, will happen in the coming weeks, or maybe happens on May 31st because it's possible. The important thing is before June 1st, which is our time frame for listing, we're going to communicate what is going to happen with the staking, and we'll provide information to everyone like we've been doing all along. All right.
Hey, hi Edwin, you can hear me?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So first of all, I really like your project, and I see that you are a passionate man. So I think as an investor, I'm very happy. I just had a question. I did miss the staking round. Why is it, according to you, a time-bound thing? If you want all the community members to do the staking, if I invest, let's say I stake today, and after 12 months I unstake and I get the rewards, or I stake after a month and I get it in 13 months. Why is it a time-bound thing for you?
Oh, no, it's not a time bomb. It's a situation where please don't take anything that I'm saying right now as an attack or anything. Just giving a disclaimer here. It's a matter that there was an opportunity for everybody to stake, and that happened in January. And we even delayed because we couldn't reach based on the changes. So we left, I think, till the end of February. So we did give a window. And how a staking mechanism is, there's an APY per each staking vault or staking pool. So there were three variables, and the APY will get reduced as much as more people enter the staking. So that means if there was 1,000 stakers on ball one, maybe it was done, but the APY will get distributed among those 1,000 players. If there's only 500, then we can establish that there was a bigger APY because there's less players in the vault. So the complexity of a decision comes now based on the fact that there were staking people who did enter when we had the staking window open. So for them, they have already established that they will generate XAPY. So for me, as an investor, in that sense, I have to put myself in the shoes. I will probably establish that it's not fair because I enter on February 1st when the staking window was open. I clicked, and then I saw on 28th when it was closed, and I saw what APY was going to be generated towards me. That would be my thought. On the other side, as you, who has not taken, then I also understand because you have also invested in us previously. So for you, it's like, yeah, but maybe I'm not active on the internet, so I have a default now, and I didn't know, and it's not fair. It's also not fair. So that is why I'm not don't have the decision now. I will have a decision after analyzing some information and maybe having some surveys with with different people, and then hopefully we make a decision that everybody is happy with. And if not, you cannot always make everybody happy, and we have learned that. So whatever decision we make, it will be in the best interest of everyone, and that's really what I can say about that. All right, cool. All right. Well, this has been an AMA of 1 hour. Yeah, like always, we record. We'll send it to everybody. Community should be rewarded and not just holders. Of course, community is gonna get rewarded. What do you like? You know what is the best reward? I'm gonna tell you. All the things that are happening, guys. Seriously, like uh, you all have tokens. I have no doubt. Everybody in this uh, AMA have tokens. But seriously, be aware of the projects that we're gonna start sending. There's equity offerings. That means you can become a shareholders of really cool projects. You can invest in Panama. Please check out the ISD. Those guys are trying to build a whole district, guys. A whole district is getting tokenized. That guy, Guillermo, it's a crazy guy. I'm gonna send him my warm regards if he's seeing that. That guy wants literally like who the hell wakes up one day and says like I want to tokenize a whole district. That guy did it. Go check that project out. So in the end, whoever is hearing the token, yes, the token, we're going to work very hard for that token to really have a value, really have a utility, really provide access, but also start thinking about all the projects that are going to come to us. And then it's going to allow you to become a shareholder, a debtor, or whatever, or a grantor, or a profit sharing person, because you're going to have access to some projects that maybe if Brickken didn't exist, maybe you wouldn't see and maybe you wouldn't be able to be part of. So the real benefits is not just Brickken. We are infrastructure, we're a layer, we want to be the shadow. Is whoever uses Brickken and succeeds in their racing, in their project, you're an early one. Imagine that. So I think the benefit here is not just the BKN token, it's not just you becoming to pro Brickken, it's everything that is gonna start coming this way. Please value that. That's my opinion, and obviously I respect everybody. So I really think that it's time for us, Bricken, to push all the clients that we have in our pipeline who's getting tokenized. And for you, everyone in this community, in Telegram, Discord, Twitter, to understand the value of us creating access for you guys to become part of something absolutely new and absolutely amazing. Because the projects that we have becoming, they're vetted. Right now, we need to bet because our brand is a play. In the future, maybe it becomes super decentralized and we don't bet anymore. But this is how people do. We're just enabling tokenization. We don't want to be the gatekeeper. We don't want to be anything. We just want to be the enabler. So I suggest and decide that that's the real benefit here. And obviously the token, and yes, we're fighting like crazy, of course. All right. Well, team. If you don't mind, I'm actually 3 minutes late for my next meeting. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Uh, I'm gonna suggest to my team that next week we do a live demo, be a live tokenization, me and you to the DApp, and that way everything I said you can visualize. And yes, we have a YouTube video, but if you want to see real passion and whoever gets the chance to send this to a client, then you will understand when Ludovico Rossi does a live demo to all of you, because that guy just shines when he talks to clients because the client's feedback on what we're building, really, it's a strong motivator for everyone in this company. So with that ado, I wish you all a great day and everything. You know where to grab us, Telegram, Discord, and everything, and everything. Oh, thank you very much for your time.